Sir, welcome to this interaction with Business Standard, sir.
Thank you, Arup. Nice to
All
be
right.
here.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I would like to start off by talking about the economic situation today. There has been a strong recovery, especially in the October to December quarter. We have seen that in the GST collections, which have been the highest quarterly average since the introduction of GST. We have seen auto sales picking up. We have seen consumption and demand across the board picking up. And now we have the beginnings of a third wave because of the Omicron variant. So, sir, what is your outlook going ahead? I mean, first of all, how do you view this recovery which is happening? And how difficult do you think the next few months are going to be with this third wave?
Yeah. So, Arup, we had the National Council of CII in early December. And when we spoke to all the CEOs who attend, the general sentiment was positive because many sectors had already reached pre-pandemic levels of demand. Profitability was improving for most companies. Many of them who are traditional exporters were exporting more than they normally do. And balance sheets were getting repaired. And so the sense we got was the private sector investment cycle is starting to come back, right? So, and this is something that both the government and industry has been waiting for a while. So overall, the sentiment was positive. I think the concerns were largely to do with wave 3. This was early December, so already it was clear that it was happening in some parts of the world and the impact that it would have. So what you described just now is important. Yes, there is a wave 3 happening, and how we deal with it is very important to ensure that the recovery continues, because there has been a huge impact on livelihoods over the last couple of years, which has demonstrated or manifested itself in the fact that consumption has not picked up as much as one would have expected, right? So it's important for us to find that balance between lives and livelihoods, make sure that we protect lives while at the same time ensure that the economic recovery is back on track. So I think both industry and government needs to work together in a coordinated fashion. And even in government, the center and the states need to work together so that we don't have unnecessary disruptions, while at the same time we don't take unnecessary risks. So I think if we do that well, we feel that the trajectory of recovery can continue, because one of the things that we've heard is the Omicron wave will be certainly spread faster, but hopefully will have a milder impact.
Sir, while the third wave is still ongoing, of course, there is expectations that while it will spread faster, it will be less deadly compared to the second wave in terms of impact on health. But still, we have already seen restrictions and curfews on establishments in major states like Maharashtra and Delhi and West Bengal. These are big parts of Haryana, parts of UP and all. And it is expected that these restrictions, as the third wave peaks, these restrictions will become more and more severe. So how severe do you think the economic impact of the third wave could be, as per your opinion?
Yeah. So there are two aspects to it, right? Some of these restrictions impact some of the sectors and industries. Like, for instance, restrictions on travel will impact aviation, the hotel industry. Restrictions on movement and gatherings will impact the hospitality industry, entertainment industry, etc. And these are the industry sectors which have really been impacted the most in the last year and a half. And they are a very significant employer. So we need to be careful and make sure that only the minimum restrictions are put in place, and which really help slow down the spread, rather than restrictions for the sake of restrictions, right? So that is one. The second part is more to do with manufacturing. We believe that because of the preparedness of many of our members, many of the factories, or the factories are probably safer than outside the factories. So when you go to workplaces which have very strong protocol on testing, on social distancing, etc., you are actually safer in a factory environment. So so if restrictions start impacting factories, restrictions start impacting supply chains, then there could also be a further economic impact. So far, we are not seeing that yet, which we did see in a localized fashion in wave 2, in a significant way in wave 1. we are not yet seeing it in wave 3. I think the impact is more on the high contact or the high touch businesses like hospitality, etc., and entertainment, which are impacted by the current recession.
Yeah. So these are the what you would call the touch services: the entertainment
Yeah.
industry, aviation, hospitality, travel. We are talking about restrictions on malls, on restaurants, and all. And to be honest, during all the three waves, it is the touch hospitality sector which has had to face the most severe restrictions. So, how concerned are you about these sectors?
So there is a concern because, like I said, they've already had two waves of impact, and this is a third wave of impact. A significant amount of people have been impacted, because of either pay cuts or job losses or whatever, right? So that's why I said we need to minimize impact as much as possible in wave 3. And secondly, we need to think about how can we support these sectors to recover.
All right.
Can
All
we
right.
make it better for them to recover faster? And they need more support than many other sectors who've already at pre-pandemic levels and have had a good few quarters.
On 1st of February, the Honorable Finance Minister will present probably one of our most crucial budgets because the last budget was about recovery and that recovery has happened. After the second wave until December, that recovery was a very strong recovery. And this budget will be about consolidating that. So, as per you, what are the 2 to 3 things that the finance minister and all the bureaucrats should be keeping at the top of their mind while preparing this?
So one is we've said we should continue to spend on infrastructure, and the government focus on investment should continue because while there is a recovery, it needs to be sustained. Okay, and I think the fiscal deficit is as per plan. The revenue generation and the tax collections are better than planned. So I think overall there is fiscal space for us to continue the focus on investments and more specifically in infrastructure, because infrastructure is a driver of demand. And infrastructure is also a driver of competitiveness. Infrastructure spend is also a driver of employment, right? So multiple reasons we need to have that focus. The second part is we need to certainly continue to improve the ease of doing business and cost of doing business, because this is ongoing. A lot of work has been done on ease of doing business. We need to ensure that policy stability is there, both at the central and state level, because if we want private sector investments to come back, particularly from overseas, if you want capital to come in, then they look at policy stability as one of the most important factors in their decision making. Right? So we need to ensure that. The third part is on the cost of doing business. CII, we recommended to the government that we should develop a cost of doing business index, which will help us benchmark states with each other, help them compete with each other, help us benchmark India with other countries, because we are competing with other countries for capital. And I think focusing on the cost of doing business, developing an index will help us be sharper in what we want to achieve in different factors which impact the cost. Right. Then we also feel that there needs to be a policy roadmap which is developed and an infrastructure roadmap which is developed to help us transition to a greener future. Okay. The Prime Minister has made announcements about our goals for 2030 and 2070. And as we've seen in other countries who have such ambitions, there's always a policy roadmap which is developed, because while private sector will do what it has to do, there needs to be a policy roadmap to help them in this journey. And a lot of common infrastructure will need to be created for a greener future. Even if you look at something like hydrogen, while many people may produce hydrogen, how do you get hydrogen from one part of the country to the other? And what is the infrastructure that you need for that? So these are issues where government will need to also play a role. And I think that's another area which, we put forth to the government. The another 2 points I want to make. We've also said that in the context of ease of doing business, we should encourage self-certification as the way forward, as a default way of working. And on an exception basis, they can do audits and penalize whoever is not complying. Otherwise, there are a lot of costs of compliance which, can be mitigated without compromising on the compliance. Right? And the last point is, since this is going to be a decade of technology, how do we further nurture the startup ecosystem? They create jobs, they bring in capital. You have more and more job creators rather than job seekers once you have a very strong startup ecosystem.
Essentially, if I ask you what are the sectors she should focus on, what would your answer be? Would it be renewable, infra, and the tech services sectors? Would that be?
Absolutely. I think services will need support because they've been hit the worst. Many parts of services, some parts of services like the IT sector has done well, but the hospitality sector, etc., will need that support, and hospitality and travel related sectors. And infrastructure construction will need the support. I think the PLI scheme should continue. That will help manufacturing. And then on top of that, I think what we said about technology and sustainability and how can that be.
The emerging sectors like semiconductors, green energy, EVs, all right. Understood.
There's one more point I want to make, which is more on the consumption side. I think on the consumption side, we need to support the lower socio-economic strata. The Manrega scheme is, been helpful. We need to continue with that. Plus, in addition, we need to focus on health and education to reduce a burden on the lower socio-economic strata, particularly because of health, people have incurred more expenses than they've budgeted for. They are concerned about future potential expenses. So if the government spend on health, which is today at 1.3%, better than 1.15 it was maybe last year before, but still needs to go up to about 3% center and state put together. I think that's very important so that the burden on the common man is reduced because of issues like the pandemic, and that will hopefully bring back the positive sentiment on consumption.
Now, I remember in an earlier conversation I had with you, I had asked you whether some sort of a temporary direct income support should be given. And then you were of the view that it's better than giving temporary income support is to create more jobs. Yeah. Are you still of the same view?
Absolutely. I think if you look at the Manrega scheme, right? I mean, you are supporting people, but you're getting some work done and adding some assets into the ecosystem, right? That may be a more efficient, I wouldn't say efficient, that may be a more effective way to, do that. And then you anyway have support available, because of the digital infrastructure that we've created. Today, you have a lot more access to people, even by providing, improving the financial inclusion. You are actually helping people because otherwise they don't have access to money. The cost of money is high, etc. So I think a lot can be given, done that way so that we spend the money very effectively.
Coming back to an earlier point now, you have clearly asked the government to continue the focus on public spending on infrastructure and big ticket projects with multiplier effects. That has been one of the government's plans. And by all indications, the government will continue down that plan of higher investment, higher public investment in infrastructure. The second plan has been the emergency credit loan guarantee scheme. And that they have done across sectors, MSMEs, they have done hospitality, for travel and tourism sector and all. Given the possible impact of third wave on certain sectors, do you think the government should extend some of these schemes beyond 31st March 2022 in the budget? Should the budget also announce that the extension of some of these credit guarantee schemes beyond March 2022?
Yeah, it could, with a specific focus. We should, like I said, if you look at industry, maybe everyone needed support 2 years back. Some needed support 1 year back. Even fewer will need support today. So if we can sharpen the focus and provide that support to those who've been impacted significantly, I think that will be better. Even in MSMEs, there are many who have struggled, but there are some who've done quite okay. So it depends on which sector you're in. And I think we need to see how can we direct our efforts so that the people most in need get it. But overall, I think there are MSME sector in general, I would say, is an area of focus as much as services. And I think many of them need that support.
Sir, apart from investing in big ticket projects, which would create employment, of course, what more can the budget do? What more can the finance minister do for employment creation, as per you?
Yeah, so one is, certainly continue the focus on manufacturing, because manufacturing not only creates jobs, but oftentimes the quality of jobs are also quite good. So to me, there is a need to focus on manufacturing. The PLI schemes are a good initiative in that effort. At a more specific level, even within manufacturing, how can we look at a more focus on employment-intensive manufacturing? Because there's capital-intensive manufacturing, which is measured by the investments and, like you said, the private sector investments, etc. But there would be employment investment sectors like textiles, electronics, which is already part of PLI, leather, etc. So how can we create more and more of those ecosystems? I think that's very important on the employment side. The other thing to look at is, again, services sector, like we talked about hospitality, but tourism as a whole, and I think the government has talked about that. I know just now travel from overseas may be limited, but even as we've seen in the last few months, there is a lot of potential to grow domestic tourism. I mean, most people in the country haven't seen most parts of the country, right? And there's so much to see and so much to experience. So how can we create infrastructure for that, encourage that? That can be a big creator of employment as well. And of course, when things are okay, to get more and more foreign tourists in, because there's a great level of interest and opportunity in India. So I think these are areas to work on. Everything which can help us translate into more jobs. And of course, the startup ecosystem needs to be encouraged, because they are also creating a lot of jobs. In fact, I dare say they're creating jobs at a faster rate than the IT sector has done.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
Nice talking to you.
Nice
talking to the West.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.